All right, everyone, we got a really big show for you today, and it starts off with news that I already know is going to make a lot of people upset. You're already seeing the headline. Yes, folks, our best possible insiders we have, which today include Game Explain and yes, Hate the Hate, have confirmed that next week's Direct will not only just be happening on Thursday, that it's going to be a partner showcase Direct. It's actually going to be the last story we go over. We have timestamps down below. We are going to spend some time talking about it and obviously talk about why people are going to be disappointed, but also why I think you guys should still be really, really excited, because I've said this entire time, I would still be excited if there's a partner showcase, and you should understand why that is the case, despite the fact that I know we're all waiting for Nintendo to reveal their next big system-selling game. That being said, folks, we have other stories we need to get to as well. We have an update on the game keycard situation, where it does appear consumers seem to be buying game keycards for one reason or another. We'll talk about that. We have an update on Tomodachi Life today. We obviously have the Direct. I'm not going to be going over the news from the Direct, but we do have some news that was shared after the Direct that I think is definitely worth getting into. But more than that, and this is what really matters to me, is the next story that we have after that, dealing with those leaks we talked about from Walmart for NSO. We're going to go over that as well, because there's some interesting updates regarding that. There's also supposedly an event happening where I wasn't invited. Thanks, Nintendo. Something being played behind the scenes, and we might know what that something is. We have an idea of how many developers are interested in making games for Switch 2. We have an idea on how well Switch 2 sold last year. And yes, of course, we got to get to the Nintendo Direct goodness. We have a jam-packed show. Can't wait to dive into all of it. Before we do, I want to remind you, we are on our road to 200,000 subscribers, so I would appreciate if you would subscribe to the channel. We obviously try to celebrate every 1,000 subscribers we get. We're about a quarter of the way there to our next 1,000 subscribers to get to 162, so I do appreciate that. And more than that, I want to make sure we thank today's sponsor, Huel, because they are enabling me to get healthy in 2026. So my life has been a whirlwind since right before 2026 began. And as such, my time is stretched thinner than it's ever been at any point in my life. And at a time when I'm trying to get my weight under control for a surgery later this year, trying to find ways to maintain my weight loss goals while having consistent routines that don't eat up too much of my time has been quite difficult. That is, until I discovered Huel. Huel saved me every morning the last couple of weeks by giving me a nutritious meal I can have on my morning commute to bring my kids to school, or even just to get a little quicker start to my workday. They have their traditional Black Edition powder, of course, to mix your own shakes, where you mix it with water and then you have a full meal in, say, a cup such as this. But they also have the ready-to-drink meals pre-mixed, and even provide a little something extra if you need a coffee replacement in your morning pickup, which is great if you're always on the go like I am. Heck, just dropped my kids off at school today. Needed that pickup. Personally, I use the Huel Energy Plus really any morning when I'm starting out a bit groggy or sleepy, and always seem to feel better after I have finished it. Huel lets me get back to my busy schedule as soon as possible while not missing out on the most important meal of the day. Using our link below or by visiting Huel.com/NINTYP15. Now, do you want to give Huel a try and discover it for yourself? Well, there's a discovery bundle, and it might be perfect for you. You can get 50% off this amazing bundle with different Huel products, but only if you link Huel.com/NINTYP15. These bundles allow you to get the powder, the ready-to-drink meals, and various other products together. Oh my gosh, there's so much. We got a little protein bar here. We got food. We got this. We got all this crazy stuff going on. Oh my gosh. You can get the green packs. That's these things right here. These green packs have all these nutrients and health stuff. Oh my gosh, there is so many products. Guys, I want to thank Huel for sponsoring this video, but more importantly, thank them for giving me a healthier start to my 2026. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in here. Our first story comes from Deku Deals. If you don't know, Deku Deals is a website where they compile physical and digital sales from the different shops for PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam. Obviously, for Steam, it's all digital, all together in a very easy to find way. Basically, it's much easier to browse here than it is to browse the actual shops, even easier than it is to browse Steam itself. Well, they also have some tracking data on people that buy physical products through their links, and their tracking data is showing people seem to be buying game key cards. So as we go down here, our Switch 2 owners buying third-party game key card releases. And the big stuff we want to get to is down here. According to our data, most users seem willing to purchase game key cards. Of the 1,070 Deku Deal users who have added one or more third-party physical releases to their collection, 735 of them own one or more game key card title. And you can see the pie chart there. 6 of the 10 most collected third-party Switch 2 physical releases on Deku Deals are game key cards. So you can see things like Bravely Default, Star Wars Outlaws, Yakuza 0, Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate, Street Fighter 6 Years 1 and 2 Fighters Edition, and Persona 3 Reload. So what's interesting about him showing this list is a lot of people would just assume, well, it must be Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate skewing those numbers because it came out at $40. But no, 6 of the top 10 they have are actually game keycard games. It doesn't appear that being on a game keycard is hurting sales, at least for the users of Deku Deals. Now, it's a very small sample size, of course. 1,070 users isn't a way to just make a blanket statement that, oh my God, everyone's buying game key cards. But I do think it brings up a conversation point that we've had before, and we had it on the podcast last night, that I don't think general consumers really care about game key cards. I don't think they're like anti-negative against them, nor do I think they care what they represent. What they care is it is a physical item that you can resell. That matters to them. It's on a store shelf, easy for them to see, easy to buy for their kids, grandkids, whatever. Look, guys, I honestly understand all of the angst and anger over game key cards. And when you see articles like this, it kind of suggests game key cards are never going to go anywhere. And I know that's going to upset some people, but what are you going to do? Like, you can't make people care about the things you care about. That's something that I find the internet has a hard time struggling with, is like, we try to force people to give a shit about the same things that we do, but you can't do that. You can't make people have the same priorities, especially when it comes to consumer optional entertainment goods. There's going to be such a wide array of opinions on that no one's really going to agree overall. That said, we got to dive into our next story, and this one also lights the internet on fire. This is about Tomodachi Life. To support Nintendo's commitment in creating experiences that are welcoming and enjoyable for everyone, we have decided to place restrictions on certain image sharing features in Tomodachi Life Living the Dream. When sharing video or images from Tomodachi Life Living the Dream on social media platforms, please review the platform's rules, which here on X there basically is none, and ensure the posts comply with the Nintendo game content guidelines for online video and image sharing platforms, which people are not going to pay any attention to that. We can click on it and look if you guys want. You're just curious about what those guidelines are, because you're totally never going to follow them. But this comes all the way back from November 18, although updated in 2024. We're humbled by our everyday loyalty and passion. So long as you follow some basic rules, we will not object to your use of gameplay footage or screenshots. And here's what they said. You may monetize your videos and channels. This applies to me as a content creator, using the monetization methods separately specified by Nintendo. Other forms of monetization of our intellectual property for commercial purposes are not permitted. So yes, I can make content. I can use their trailers. I can use their music. They don't care. So that's good. We encourage you to create videos that include your creative input and commentary. Videos and images that contain mere copies of Nintendo game content without creative input or commentary not permitted. So channels like mine are totally fine, obviously, because we have commentary and everything. You may, however, post gameplay videos and screenshots using Nintendo system features. So yeah, you can monetize and use their capture stuff. Obviously, it's not allowed for Tomodachi Life. You are permitted to use Nintendo game content that is generated after the game has been officially released, or if it is promotional materials. If you want to use the intellectual property of a third party, you're responsible for obtaining any necessary third-party permissions. You're not permitted to imply or state that your videos are officially affiliated with or sponsored by Nintendo. Very obvious. We reserve the right to object to any content we believe is unlawful, infringing, inappropriate, or not within these guidelines. And the inappropriate part here is where you can see them try to ding people for putting up some pretty crazy stuff from Tomodachi Life using capture cards. I don't think Nintendo's going to do that. I think all Nintendo wanted to let you know, and we saw this with some updates from Game Explain, to say, we know that a game like Tomodachi Life, and we saw this with the last one, that people are going to create some really inappropriate scenarios and out of context situations that are going to lead to the internet having a lot of fun. but also having a lot of fun in some very inappropriate adult-like ways. And the thing is, Nintendo just doesn't want their platforms to be the way that's delivered. So while you might be posting it on X, you might be posting it on YouTube or Twitch or wherever, they don't want you to use Nintendo's app to be able to share that. So that's why they aren't letting you capture video or take screenshots with Nintendo Switch or Switch 2, upload it to the app and upload it to social media. They're not saying that you literally can't have any images or any videos of the game, just not using their methods. And again, this is because Nintendo does not want to have any responsibility for how inappropriate things are going to be. And just to further hammer that home, Nintendo has stated that Tomodachi Life is a fully offline game. It is not an online multiplayer game. And again, probably due to these concerns about some of the inappropriateness that can happen from a game like this with the content creation. So a lot of customization options here. There will be somebody making a walking phallus for a pet. We all know it's going to happen. So but Nintendo is obviously just trying to do a reputational thing here. Obviously, they know content's going to get shared, but if it's not being shared through their application and their screenshots, they can kind of wash their hands of it and say, hey, that's on the platform for letting that content exist. So there you go. I think that's what's going on here. I really don't think it's that big a deal. But I know some people are going to be kind of mad because, oh, Nintendo is censoring. Oh, they're worried about their brand image. Like, Nintendo has a family forward brand image, regardless of who most of their core audience is. They want to keep that brand image because Tomodachi Life is supposed to be fun for everyone, but it can also get fun in some really inappropriate ways. All right. Next up, we talked a little bit about how Walmart had 2 NSO games leak in my last video. Well, Nintendo has an update on this situation. So we go over to IGN here, where we're talking about Pikmin 2 and Metroid Prime 2. Come down here and we see this update from Nintendo. So Nintendo has now said it provided Walmart with the image. So the image did come from Nintendo that incorrectly showed Metroid Prime 2 Echoes and Pikmin 2 coming to Switch Online. In a statement to IGN, a Nintendo of America spokesperson has now stated that these games are not planned for release, currently at least. We recently provided a retailer with an image of Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo Classic titles that incorrectly included games that are not planned for release at this time. Nintendo of America has now stated the image has been removed, and we apologize for any confusion. And to that I say, sure, Nintendo, I give you credit. This was not Walmart's fault. You made the mistake. You gave them marketing materials that supposedly, according to you, had lies in them. I'm going to go out on a limb. And normally I try to believe Nintendo when they say things like this, but I'm going to say I don't believe you when you say these games are not planned for release. I bet those games are being announced later this year, and the mistake was sending the wrong marketing materials before you made the actual announcements. That's what I think happened. Don't think this was just someone in Photoshop slapping those games in, trying to sneak it past the Nintendo ninjas working at Nintendo. Nintendo has very tight control on their marketing. I'm guessing someone sent the wrong marketing package to Walmart, and that's how these games leaked, and these games will be announced later this year. That's what I'm choosing to believe. I could be way wrong. Nintendo's denying the games are coming at all. So when they do, well, Nintendo got caught lying in 4K, or I guess this video is 1080p, but my monitor is 4K. Whatever. Next up, we have a story about a bunch of game journalists and YouTubers getting invited to a media event. And we're seeing this over here posted by Stealth40K. It says multiple game journalists have traveled to New York. Steve from Good Vibe Games, Blessing from Kinda Funny, Andy from Video Game Chronicle has also teased travel by showing his Nintendo passport holder. My friend Roger's Base is also traveling. I'm starting to get the feeling Nintendo is having a press event this week, which they probably are. Now, you might be wondering, well, what's the press event for? Is it for Mario Tennis? I don't know. They're probably going to have review codes for that very soon, so I don't think it'd be Mario Tennis. Could it be Tomodachi Life? Absolutely. That could be the case. It could be Tomodachi Life. But then something came out where a certain content creator revealed that it might be related to Pokemon. Come out here on Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit. Hi, never posted on the subreddit before, so let me know if I'm posted in the right place. I don't want to cause any harm, but a French YouTuber revealed in a live stream a few hours ago that the meeting at Nintendo of Europe, likely to be the same one that US and Stealth40K mentioned, is to test a Pokemon game. I can send you his live stream, but it's in French. Baguette, oui, oui. He goes down and does say who the YouTuber is, and I did double check that YouTuber is indeed, the person. It's Safano, and he did actually say this on his live stream. What's interesting is it's probably going to be Pokopia. And that's what I kind of believe with this Nate the Hate 2 one here. I don't know if that's the official Nate the Hate, but I do agree that it's probably going to be Pokopia. That makes a lot of sense. It is a $70 release. It's exclusive to Switch 2. They're going to want as much marketing for that as possible. Previews probably dropping next month. It would make a lot of sense if that was the game. But there was some suggestion that it might be like one of a handful of games, with Pokopia, like a Pokemon game, being one of those games. So I'm wondering what other games could possibly be tested here. Maybe Tomodachi Life is one of those games getting tested. Maybe a couple others. I don't know. It could be a multifaceted event. Right now, nothing is leaked. And no, I'm not going to reach out to Rogers Base and other friends and ask them like to their face, hey, man, what were you playing, man? What were you playing? Now, you guys who are savvy might know Rogers Base is actually coming on our podcast next week. And you can definitely super chat the question into him. Can't guarantee he's going to say anything. He probably can't. Called NDAs, but you can certainly ask. I know I'm not going to ask out of respect for our friendship, but I can't stop the public from asking, and he probably already is getting spammed online with questions about it. Next up, you guys remember we used to talk about the game developer conference surveys before Switch 2 came out, because we were tracking like how many game developers that answered that survey were planning to make games for Nintendo's next generation device or were currently making them. Well, the survey for this year, so this is a survey for people, devs working on games literally right now, shows that 40% of devs are actually interested in making games on Switch 2. What's really interesting about this, because 40% might sound low to you, especially when you see the PC number at 80%, lets you know a lot of these devs are probably indie devs. Well, here's what's really interesting. That actually matches the same percentage of people that want to make games or are making games for PlayStation 5. Same for the ones that are trying to optimize their games for Steam Deck, and significantly higher, 39% on Switch 2, 20% for Xbox. So it's higher than mobile. It's higher than Xbox. It's pretty much right in line with PlayStation 5. And we know PlayStation 5 is a third-party powerhouse. And this was obviously based on a polling that they do every single year of, 2,000 to 3,000 people. So look, guys, I've been saying this whole time, Switch 2 just needed to be powerful enough to get most third-party games. And we're seeing from the GDC survey anyways that appears to be the case, as it has the same amount of interest from game developers as PlayStation does, that's wild, honestly. Absolutely wild when you consider where Nintendo was just a couple generations ago. All right. Next up, we got to go over the Famitsu sales chart for last week, just because it's one of the few places we get any actual data for. As we come in here, we see Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrated opens at 23,000 units here. It actually was number one for the week. Glad to see that game doing well in Japan. I'm sure Square Enix is happy to see it debut at number one as well to beat out Mario Kart World. They're probably pretty happy with this number. Then you see, obviously, Mario Kart World at number 2, Animal Crossing New Horizons Switch 2 Edition at 3, Animal Crossing New Horizons just Standard Edition, which, remember, there was a new content update recently, at 4, Dynasty Warriors Origins on Switch 2 at 5. Then you see Unlogical at 6 for Switch 2. We see the Legend ZA Switch 2 Edition at 7, ahead of Legend ZA Nintendo Switch Edition. Now, obviously, the Switch Edition has like a 500,000 unit lead, so I don't know if it'll ever pass it, but you never know. Switch 2 edition of Momotaro Dentetsu 2 is at 9, and then obviously the Switch edition of that game is at 10. And you can see the Switch 2 sales chiming in here at 72,000. Another solid to really, really good week, especially for January for the Nintendo Switch 2, which is usually a slower sales period. Still doing really, really strong in Japan. Probably looking at another 300 to 400,000, if not higher, month for Japan. I'd have to go do the math, but that's pretty cool. I'm really happy to see those sales coming in, and I'm happy to see third parties get up there, because guess what? We have been talking about a Nintendo Direct now for probably the last week. That's really when the rumors started rolling in. Tap the Backlog, Nash Weedle. No one seemed to be able to pin down if it was a general or a partner. There was some suggestions about anniversary stuff. Maybe that stuff is for Mario 10 Day, perhaps, because Mario 10 Day is, 10 days into March, which is right after, April. So February, March, or sorry, right after February. My gosh, I can't get my months straight. Anyways, the point is that could be where this 40th anniversary stuff is happening. Maybe we get a 3D Mario reveal. I don't know. But we have some updates here coming from places like Game Explain, and then we're going to get to Nate the Hate. So first, Game Explain in this video, they were talking about Tomodachi Life, but in there, they dropped a little nugget on what Andre from Game Explain has heard.
From everything I've heard, I do believe there is a direct happening on February 5th. Furthermore, from everything I've heard, I don't think it's going to be a full, proper direct. Probably more of a partner direct.
No, that's from everything he's heard. That's what I want to note. He was leaning towards a partner direct, but he didn't know if it was a partner direct. But this led to Nate the Hate finally reaching out to his best contacts because, he hasn't really been doing that. He really wasn't interested in doing that, not till other people chimed in. Nate the Hate has decided to chime in after the Game Explain stuff. And he said, I don't know the format. That was 3 hours ago. And then Mert says, well, Game Explain says it's a partner showcase. Well, then, probably, a few hours later, because he didn't respond right away, he said, and he is correct. Next week's direct will be a partner direct showcase. And he goes into more of that. He confirms it's happening on the 5th. Yet again, I think a partner direct is fine. Third party on Switch is an interesting, exciting prospect. I know you don't have any updates, but do you think they might show at Red Dead Redemption 2? Rockstar will handle the announcement. It won't be in our direct. And then he says, if I may ask, have you also been able to confirm the direct's format and date with your bigger source in the end? And he said, partner, February 5th. They ask about Kingdom Hearts. He hasn't heard anything about any Kingdom Hearts ports. Is there a general direct possibly happening in February? He said, seems unlikely, but it's not like he knows. It's not based on his sources. That's his opinion. And there you go. So, Nate the Hate's coming out saying right now, it is a partner direct showcase. It's happening February 5th. Game Explain was the first person to kind of float that out there. So there you go. It is a partner showcase direct. Now, I know a lot of you, I can already hear it. I've been hearing it on socials already. And the little bit I talked about it on X and on Discord. A lot of you are extremely disappointed that this is not a big general direct. And we talked last night about how they need one and how it makes sense and how it would be good for their optics and how a partner showcase wouldn't be good for their optics. But we also talked about how I would still be stupidly excited for a partner showcase. And that's because I play way the hell more games than just Nintendo first party. And with that, first party, third party excitement, announcements can be exciting. Now, for some people that are multi-platform holders, some of your concerns, I think, are valid. A thing about a partner showcase is there's probably going to be a lot of ports of games that have already come out. Yeah, Expedition 33 could get announced. Stupidly exciting. A lot of you guys have already beat that game on other platforms, right? Call of Duty Black Ops 7 could get announced. Some of you guys have been already playing that since last year on other platforms, right? So I get the idea of the ports maybe not being as exciting for some of you, whereas there are others of you that only ever play on Nintendo that will be stupidly excited about those ports. And I'm excited as well for the ports. I think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth could even be here. So to me, that already makes it exciting because I do think the ports are going to be super high quality. But we have to remember that doesn't mean there won't be new announcements. And I'm going to point out a partner game, 2 of them that we know are Switch 2 exclusive games coming from partners that, aka not Nintendo. First up, Orbitals. Orbitals already teased. They're going to be in the next direct. So sure, I really want to see more of Orbitals. It's a brand new game. And the Dustbloods. I do think the Dustbloods could be here. It is a game made by a partner studio for Nintendo from Software. It is not an internal Nintendo or a Nintendo partially owned studio. In fact, I don't even think Nintendo owns the IP. I believe From Software has the IP rights. So I'm just throwing out there that it makes a lot of sense that the Dustbloods could get kind of a big blowout in this direct. And beyond all of that, I do think there will be brand new third-party game announcements. And I don't just mean ports. I mean like actual brand new games that we're not even aware of yet. Or, and this can also be equally exciting, looks at games we know about but haven't seen in forever. Remember Dragon Quest 12? How we've, seen a logo and they announced it years ago? What if we see that in this direct? You know how massive that would be, especially in Japan? So I do think that this is a direct that is worth being really, really hyped about. You just have to now shift what you're getting hyped about. If you were trying to get hyped for 3D Mario, you were trying to get hyped for Ocarina of Time Remake, you were trying to get hyped for all these Nintendo games, obviously we can now kind of rule that out and squarely focus in on the top tier AAA and indie titles that we should get excited for Switch 2 and hopefully get announced and or brand new game announcements for this direct. And I am going to be focusing on that as well. Really excited about it. We're still going to do a bonus episode of the podcast next week. We're still going to be doing our partner direct bingo and all that. It's going to be good times. But obviously, there's a big elephant in the room. When is Nintendo going to announce more games that they're working on, that they're publishing? That's a good question. I don't know is the answer that I want to give you. I don't believe we're going to have to wait till June, which is, Nintendo's typical general direct schedule is February, June, and September. I don't believe we're going to have to wait till June, but I do believe that it's going to be kind of a weird setup. I think Mario 10 Day has a chance to be a Mario 40th Anniversary Direct Day. If that happens, I could see 3D Mario popping into there. But if that doesn't happen, and there'll be Mario 10-day celebrations, but let's say there's no direct, then that does lead me to believe there could be a general direct, next month or even in April. And I know that feels weird, but Nintendo hasn't been really on pattern since last year. Really, since the end of 2024, Nintendo's been off pattern. And we're talking about being upset about the fact that they just kind of had like a mini Twitter direct, and then they had 3 actual directs in 2 weeks. I don't think we can really be upset by that. That's Nintendo giving us a lot of information. But I know many of you just want the big system sellers announced, and I think they will be announced. It sucks that we have to be patient. To me, it's very clear none of these system sellers are coming first half of the year, and that's okay. It depends on how things, come out. I'm sure Dustbloods might be a highlight for the first half of the year. I literally think that's going to be one of the bigger games they show off. So, look, guys, I'm perfectly cool with all of this. I've been cool with all of this entire time. But I know some of you guys literally care about Nintendo published games and nothing else matters to you. And I can't make you guys feel better. I just hope that you guys play third-party games somewhere, even if not on Switch 2, because third-party games got a lot of bangers. Indies and AAA have a lot of really good games. I think the negative ones get a lot of focus at times, but then some of the really good ones kind of get swept under the rug, and I don't think that should happen. So I'm really looking forward to this partner showcase. Can't wait to talk more about it on Wednesday next week when it's officially announced. We'll talk about it on our podcast. And as always, folks, I'll catch you in the next video.